word problems, you're sometimes going to hear the phrase angle of elevation or angle of depression. So I'm going to read through the definitions of these guys, and then once we do problems with these concepts, we'll come back and reference the definitions. Okay, so it says vertical heights can sometimes be measured using either the angle of elevation or the angle of depression. If a person is looking up at an object, the acute angle measured from the horizontal to a line of sight to the object is called the angle of elevation. Okay, so basically, angle of elevation is associated with looking up. Okay, on the flip side, angle of depression is associated with looking down. If a person is looking down at an object, the acute angle made by the line of sight to the object in the horizontal is called the angle of depression. Okay, like I said, we will encounter these terms, and it's really helpful when you do that you draw out what's going on. Okay, you're going to need to pay special attention to how the angle of elevation and the angle of depression, how those guys are defined, because like it says here, the angle of elevation, it's the angle measured from the horizontal to a line of sight to the object. Okay, and then the angle of depression, it's made by the line of sight to the object in the horizontal. These angles are being made with the horizontal, and that is key. Okay. All right, one more thing we'll talk about before we jump into these word problems is bearing. Okay, so a lot of these word problems are going to be like an airplane flying on some bearing, or a ship is sailing and it has this bearing, and blah, blah, blah. Bearing is a term that you will encounter in navigation. It refers to the direction of motion of an object, such as a ship or an airplane, or the direction of a second object at a distance relative to the ship or airplane. Okay, so again, it is basically a navigation term. It has to do with how an object is located. Okay, the problems we will encounter will express bearing in one of two ways. Okay, so you need to know the two ways because you don't know how a particular problem will express the bearing. Okay, in the first method, a single angle will be given. Okay, it says when a single angle is given, it is understood that bearing is measured in a clockwise direction from due north. Okay, so one more time, method one, when a single angle is given, it is understood that bearing is measured in a clockwise direction from due north. Okay, so I'm going to give you several examples to make sure you understand this. Okay, what I have here are four, you can think of them as XY planes, but that's not actually what they are here. This is going to represent direction. Okay, so you can say this is north, south, west, and east on all of these guys. Okay, so you might be given, and I'm going to write the bearing in red. Okay, well, actually, yeah, I'll write the bearing in red here. So for this first one, say you were just given a bearing of 32 degrees. Okay, all you're told is that the bearing is 32 degrees. Okay, in the other method, which we'll see in a second, the bearing is expressed not only with an angle, but it comes with directions like north, south, east, west. Okay, but here it's like, oh, the bearing is 32 degrees. And so what's key here to understand is that the bearing is measured in a clockwise direction from due north. Okay, so we would draw out the bearing here. Okay, so I am going to take this and I'm going to draw it in red so you can see it. Okay, I am going to take a line here. Okay, and I'm going to start from due north. Okay, and then I need to rotate clockwise by 32 degrees. Okay, now I don't have a protractor here. I don't know how accurate this is, but let's say this is 32 degrees. Okay, so this would be 32 degrees. Okay, it's the angle that my line is making with due north, essentially. Okay, so that's what a bearing of 32 degrees looks like. Let me do another one. I'm going to do all 4 of these. Like I said, I want you to have a lot of examples with this. Next, let's do a bearing of 164 degrees. Okay, same thing. You're going to align yourself with due north. Okay, and then from due north, you have to rotate clockwise by 164 degrees. So here's 90 degrees. This would be 90 degrees. Okay, this would be 180. So you've gone too far. Okay, so we want to be close to 180, but we don't want to quite make it there. Okay, so this angle would need to be exactly 164 degrees. Okay, again, I'm just eyeballing it here. Okay, but again, this line, this red line, the angle that it forms with due north is 164 degrees. Okay, and of course I should label my directions on all of these. Okay, so let's do another one. Okay, let me just go ahead and label the directions here. All right, so the next one, let's do a bearing of 229 degrees. All right, so again, you're going to align yourself with due north, okay, and you want to rotate clockwise 229 degrees. Okay, so this is going to be 90, 180, so we need to keep going. Okay, so then if we get here, this is going to be 270, that's too much. So we need to come back probably closer to 180 here. Okay, so maybe, again, I am eyeballing this. So we need to show the amount of rotation that's necessary here. So I'm starting at due north here and I'm rotating by 229 degrees. Okay, that's how you want to look at it. Okay, all right, so that's a bearing of 229 degrees. We'll do one more and then we'll look at the other method. Let's do a bearing of 304 degrees. Okay, all right, so what we're going to do is we will start at due north like we have, and then rotate clockwise. Guess how much? 304 degrees. All right, so we got 90, we've got 180, we've got 270. We know if we come back to due north, that's 360 degrees. Okay, we don't want to go that far, so we're going to be somewhere over here in quadrant 2. Okay, so we'll say it's approximately here. Okay, look at the rotation. It's going to be this amount. Okay, this is going to be 304. Okay, all right. So that is the first method. And again, all you will be given is an angle. You have to know that the understanding is that you're rotating clockwise from due north. Okay, the other method, okay, you're still going to, visualize north, south, west, and east. Okay, it says start with a north-south line and use an acute angle to show the direction either east or west from this line. Okay, all right, so let's try an example. Again, here's north, south, west, and east. So for our first example, I am going to draw a bearing of this. This is what it's going to look like. Okay, so that's 42 degrees, okay? And then you've got north and then you've got east, okay? Does it matter? Is it the same thing as this? Okay, these are two different things. The order that the directions appear in matter, okay? The way you're going to interpret this, okay, you're going to draw 42 degrees east of north. That's what this means. Okay, you're going to rotate 42 degrees east of north. Okay, so what you would do here, okay, is you are going to align yourself with due north. Okay, and then you're going to rotate 42 degrees towards the east. Okay, if it had been 42 degrees west of north, you would rotate this way towards the west. But since it's towards the east, we're going to start at due north and we're going to go 42 degrees. Okay, so almost halfway. Okay, so then this would be 42 degrees. Okay, that's what that looks like. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, in this next one, we're going to do this bearing. All right, so how do you interpret this? Okay, this is going to be 31 degrees east of south. Okay, so what do you do here? Well, you're going to align yourself with due south, which is right here. Okay, and then you're going to rotate towards the east. Okay, so I guess it would help if I had labeled the directions here first. Okay, so let me put these guys on and then I'll start over. All right, so again, align yourself with due south, like this, okay? And then we need to rotate 31 degrees towards the east, okay? So maybe like that, okay? This angle is going to be 31 degrees, okay? So that's what that looks like, okay? All right, couple more. Let me put my directions on both of these. Hang on a second. All right, so here we go. In the third example, okay, our bearing is going to be this. All right, so I'm going to write out what this means, okay? We are going to rotate 40 degrees west of south, okay? All right, so I'm going to align myself with due south. So this is where I'm starting, okay? And now I'm going to rotate towards the west, and I'm going to rotate 40 degrees. Okay, so I'm going towards the west, and I rotate by this amount, which is 40 degrees. Okay, so that is what that one looks like. All right, one more. Okay, so this time my bearing is going to be this. Okay, so if we interpret this, we are going to rotate 52 degrees west of north. Okay, so you are going to align yourself with due north. Okay, this will be your starting point. Okay, and then you're going to rotate 52 degrees towards the west. Okay, so you need to rotate towards the west, and you need to go 52 degrees. Okay, and again, I'm just eyeballing this. Okay, so maybe about here. This angle is 52 degrees, not this one. Okay, it's the amount of rotation from due north. Okay, so you will encounter several bearing problems. You need to be able to handle the bearing in both ways. Okay, either just a number, or if you have the angle that comes with the direction.